all I want to get into a loft with, but Buckner always did have highfalutin ideas. Lately he's been arguing with Uncle Shadrach to cut down on his drinking, especially when he's full hisself. Speaking of Cousin Buckner, I says, has he been around for his regular dram yet? Not yet, says Joel. He'll be in right after dinner, as usual. He wouldn't if he knowed what I knowed, I opined, because I'd thought up a way to get Cousin Buckner out of the way that night. He'd be heading for Wolf Canyon fast as he could spraddle. I'd just met Harry Braxton with a pack mule heading for there. You don't mean somebody's made a strike in Wolf Canyon? Says Joel, pricking up his ears. You never heard nothing like it, I assured him. Alder Gulch weren't nothing to this. Hmm, says Joel, absent-mindedly pouring himself a quart-sized tin cup full of corn juice. I'm an Injun if it ain't, I says, and drinking me a dram and went back to lay in the bresh and watch the Kirby house. I was well pleased with myself, 'cause I knowed what a wolf Cousin Buckner was after gold. If anything could draw him away from home and his daughter, it'd be news of a big strike. I was willing to bet my 6-shooters against a prickly pear that as soon as Joel told him the news, he'd light out for Wolf Canyon, more especially as he'd think Harry Braxton was going there too, and no chance of him sneaking off with Kit whilst the old man was gone. After a while I seen Cousin Buckner leave the house and go down the road toward the still house, and pretty soon Uncle Shadrach emerged and headed the same way. Pretty well satisfied with myself, I went back to where I left Cousin Bill's wagon, fried me 5 or 6 pounds of venison I'd brung along for provisions and ate it, and drunk at the creek, then laid down and slept for a few hours. It was right at sundown when I woke up. I went on foot through the brush till I came out behind Buckner's cow pen and seen Kit milking. I asked her if anybody was in the house. "Nobody but me," she said, "and I'm out here. I ain't seen neither Pap nor Uncle Shadrach since they left right after dinner. Can it be your scheme is actually working out?" "Certainly," I says. "Uncle Shadrach'll be swilling at Joel's still house till past midnight, and your Pap is undoubtedly on his way toward Wolf Canyon. You get through with your chores and get ready to skip. Don't have no light in your room, though. It's just likely your Pap told off one of his relatives to lay in the brush and watch the house, him being of a suspicious nature. We don't want to have no bloodshed. When I hear Harry's buckboard, I'll come for you. And if you hear any peculiar noises before he gets here, don't think nothing of it. It'll just be me lugging Joshua upstairs." "That critter'll bray fit to wake the dead," says she. "He won't neither," I said. "He'll go to sleep and keep his mouth shet. Uncle Shadrach won't suspect nothing till he lights him a candle to go to bed by. Or if he's too drunk to light a candle and just falls down on the bed in the dark, he'll wake up during the night sometime to get him a drink of water. He's bound to see Joshua sometime between midnight and morning. All I hope is the shock won't prove fatal. You go get ready to skip now." I went back to the wagon and cooked me some more venison, also about a dozen eggs Kit had give me along with some corn pone and a gallon of buttermilk. I managed to make a light snack out of them morsels, and then, as soon as it was good and dark, I hitched up the mules and loaded Joshua into the wagon and went slow and easy down the road. I stopped behind the corral and tied the mules. The house was dark and still. I toted Joshua into the house and carried him upstairs. I heard Kit moving around in her room, but they weren't nobody else in the house. Cousin Buckner had regular stairs in his house like what they have in big towns, like Warpaint and the like. Most folks in the Bear Creek country just has a ladder going up through a trap door, and some said they would be a jedgment on to Buckner, account of him indulging in such vain and sinful luxury. But I got to admit that packing a jackass up a flight of stairs was a lot easier than what it would have been to lug him up a ladder. Joshua didn't bray nor kick none. He didn't care what was happening to him so long as he didn't have to do no work personal. I unfastened his legs and tied a rope around his neck and t'other end to the foot of Uncle Shadrach's bunk, and give him a hat I found on a peg to chew on till he went to sleep, which I knowed he'd do pronto. I then went downstairs and heard Kit fussing around in her room, but it warn't time for Harry, so I went back out behind the corral and sot down and leaned my back agin the fence, and I reckon I must have gone to sleep. Just associating with Joshua give a man the habit. First thing I knowed, I heard a buckboard rumbling over a bridge up the draw, and knowed it was Harry coming in fear and trembling to claim his bride. The moon warn't up yet, but they was a glow above the trees on the eastern ridges. I jumped up and ran quick and easy to Kit's winder. I can move light as a cougar in spite of my size. And I said, "Kit, air you ready?" "I'm ready," she whispered, all of a tremble. "Don't talk so loud." "They ain't nothing to be scared of," I soothed her, but lowered my voice just to humor her. "Your pap is in Wolf Canyon by this time. Ain't nobody in the house but us. I've been watching out by the corral." Kit sniffed. "Weren't that you I heard come into the house while ago?" she asked. "You been dreaming," I said. "Come on, that's Harry's buckboard coming up the road." "Let me get just a few more things together," she whispered, fumbling around in the dark. That's just like a woman. No matter how much time they has aforehand, they always has something to do at the last minute. I waited by the winder, and Harry drove on past the house a few rods and tied the hoss and come back, walking light and soft and plenty pale in the starlight. "Go on out the front door and meet him," I told her. "No, wait." Because all to onct Harry had ducked back out of the road, and he jumped over the fence and come to the winder where I was. He was shaking like a leaf. "Somebody's coming up the road afoot," he says. "It's Pap," gasped Kit. Her and Harry was sure scared of the old man. They hadn't said a word above a whisper you could never have heard 3 yards away, and I was kind of suiting my voice to theirn. "Aw, it can't be," I said. "He's in Wolf Canyon. That's Uncle Shadrach coming home to sleep off his drunk, but he's back a lot earlier than what I figured he would be. He ain't important, but we don't want no delay. Here, Kit, give me that bag. Now let me lift you out of the winder. So. Now you all skin out. I'm going to climb this here tree where I can see the fun. Now get." They crope out the side gate of the yard, just as Uncle Shadrach come in at the front gate, and he never seen 'em, because the house was between 'em. They went so soft and easy, I thought if Cousin Buckner had been in the house, he wouldn't have woke up. They was hustling down the road toward the buckboard, as Uncle Shadrach was coming up on the porch and going into the hall. I could hear him climbing the stair. I could have seen him if there'd been a light in the house, because I could look into a winder in his room and one in the downstairs hall too, from the tree where I was setting. He got into his room about the time the young folks reached their buckboard, and I seen a light flare up as he struck a match. They weren't no hall upstairs. The stairs run right up to the door of his room. He stood in the doorway and lit a candle on a shelf by the door. I could see Joshua standing by the bunk with his head down, asleep, and I reckon the light must have woke him up, 'cause he throwed up his head and give a loud and ringing bray. Uncle Shadrach turned and seen Joshua, and he let out a shriek.